Welcome to this week's presentation on teams. Have you ever been part of a group at work or in a sporting environment and say, hey, this just really gels, it works together well? Or maybe you attend a fitness class or have a work group and you say, wow, this isn't working, and you're kind of miserable and eventually you just drop out. And you wonder, what was the difference? What really made one group work and what made the other group not work so well? That's what we're going to discuss in this presentation. So let's look at a group versus a team. Because in one situation, when the group worked really well together, you were probably part of a team. And the other situation, you might have just been part of a group or coexisted, but not really had a team kind of outcome. So groups, many times you have the I, myself, seeking out the common objective of somebody else who is there at the same time. And you probably interact and you have some task interdependence. That's pretty much where it ends. You're working along each side each other with some common interests. Versus a team. A team believes in the we. They have group goals. They understand each other's individual distinctive roles on that team because the coach or the leader made them very clear. They have a structured communication about when to communicate, why to communicate, what to communicate, how to communicate. And they have an established set of social norms or some rules, whether they're spoken or unspoken, about how they show respect for each other, about how they communicate to each other. Now, in a team environment, sometimes individuals may fall through the cracks and just not seem to pull their own weight. It's a phenomenon known as social loafing. And why does it occur? Many reasons. One is, in a team, you need to have a way to measure individual performance, even if there's a common goal. So if there's no way to measure this, it contributes to the loafing phenomenon. Other reasons for loafing are a person just really doesn't have interest in the tasks being performed, so they don't see a lot of personal involvement, or they perceive that their tasks are menial. They're not really meaningful to the team. Sometimes they look at the group standard or other individuals in the group and they feel that I can't contribute at the level they can, so I don't bring a lot of worth to this team. Either that or they don't even know the people they're working with. They're set up with a group of strangers and say, hey, accomplish this goal, and there's no real interaction beyond the task. Sometimes the roles aren't clear and people are performing redundant tasks, and when they see this, they decide they don't really want to be part of this team anymore. So these are all reasons that contribute to a person loafing or not contributing as much. It's not that they don't have the right outcome in mind. It's not that they're not motivated. It's that when they see these factors come into play, they become disinterested in that specific project on that specific team at that specific time. So how can we avoid this? How can we get all members to contribute to this team? We have to look at the theme of cohesion. We have task cohesion and social cohesion. Task cohesion is that we will all work together for a common goal and objective. Social cohesion is the interpersonal attraction or interaction among group members willingly. When these two come together, we have the beginnings of what could be a great team. So what's the leader's role in establishing this team cohesion? There are many things that the leader needs to be keeping track of, not only once, but continuously. The leader needs to be effective in communication. They need to be concise, they need to be consistent, they need to display constant affect at all times. They need to be very clear in what the outcome that the team needs to accomplish and how the team needs to accomplish and who's going to do it. In doing that, they must clearly outline the individual's role to the team. They establish the role of each person on that team, and they ensure that everybody on that team understands what that individual's role is. Many times team ends up having subunits, and it's important to develop the pride in those subunits and then help the team understand the value of each subunit. Within those subunits, or as a team as a whole, there need to be specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely goals that are established. This way the team will know if they're on track or off track. The group needs to create a sense of identity, which we'll go to in a moment. If the leader identifies some cliques, it's really important to break up those cliques, whether that's changing roommates on a team or changing assignments or changing who's playing together in order to get those cliques to go away very quickly. It's important to avoid turnover because if there's constant turnover, you can't build a team over time. Conducting regular team meetings is important so that individuals and groups feel comfortable discussing some of the challenges and successes and coming up with plans to move forward effectively. It's important to build efficacy, which we talked about in our last presentation, and it's important to understand the team climate and culture to understand and respect the values of that team and their social norms. Now, what are some reasons some teams just don't work together well, and maybe they stay groups and don't ever become a team? Here are some really common reasons. There's a personality clash, the conflicting of a task or a social role, the breakdown of communication is not clear, individuals may be struggling for power, there might be frequent turnover which prevents the momentum forward, and there might be disagreement on what the goals and objectives for the group are. It's the leader's responsibility to ensure that these things are identified early and corrected immediately. Here's an example in a group fitness environment on what you could do for class cohesion. Let's say you're leading a group fitness class and you want members to feel like they're members and continue coming back and participate. There's a couple principles you can follow on. Distinction, individual positions, group norms and interaction, and individual contributions. So in distinction, you can come up with a group name beyond just your class name. You can have the group create some distinctive t-shirt identifying themselves. You can create a group slogan, or you can create a group poster. Moving on to individual positions. One way to address this is to ensure that everybody in the class can participate at the appropriate level. So many times it's common practice to divide a run club by speed or mileage, or to divide a aquatics class by ability. So you know on the right side of the pool that you're going to give variation A, and on the left side you're going to give variation B throughout the entire class, and that way you can cue effectively to multiple groups. It's also important to establish group norms and interaction. One way to do this is by having members introduce each other and not just themselves. You can have them establish a group goal, or you can establish the group goal and let them know what it is. And you can have them engage in partner and small group work where they take turns leading each other or cheering each other on. Then moving on to individualization, you can allow a participant to contribute to the daily goal, and the group understands that that participant might have a say today, but they're going to get their turn tomorrow. You can also ask regulars to help new people. We've covered an overview of group cohesion and team building, as well as the key principles that will allow you to build successful teams, and key principles that will allow you to identify unsuccessful teams and redirect them effectively. Thank you for listening to this presentation. If you have questions, please contact your instructor. There are some additional resources on PT on the Net and in the library. And the primary reference used in creating this presentation was Weinberg and Gold, Foundations of Sport and Exercise Psychology.